everyone. Welcome to the Book Over, our little book club where we talk about books, especially the ones that give us those book hangovers. Today we're talking about Canary by Tijan, and we have a special co-host with us, Holly. Hi, Holly.
Hi, Holly.
Hello.
And I'm Sarah, and with me is
Megan. Hi.
And we're really excited to have you here with us today. Before we get started, we are talking about the book. We have read the book. If you haven't read the book and you don't want any spoilers, then don't listen until you read the book. If you don't care or you've read it, join us. We're talking about every part of it. So, spoiler.
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler. All right. So, Canary, Tijan, she did the Bennett Mafia book a while ago.
Yeah.
And I loved it. And so when she announced that she was doing another cartel / mafia book, I was really, really excited.
I was so excited.
Yes. And I didn't even know it was, I think Megan mentioned it and I had no clue it was coming. And Megan's like, I saw this. And I was like, what? Because Tijan's one of my favorite go-tos. I'll buy your book. I don't care if it's not on Kindle Unlimited. Like I'm reading this, and
Same.
It did not disappoint.
No,
not at all. It was great.
No.
Well, I like to patrol my favorite authors and just like look on Amazon to see if anything's popped up recently, and I'm like, oh, something popped up, and I'm like, and it's on Kindle Unlimited. Yay! That's the best.
I'm the same exact way.
Well, and I'm, as we know and established, I'm a very big reverse harem fan. So like when I love MF, like that's special. And like I just haven't not loved any of her MF. I love all like Fallen Crest, her standalones. I just love the way that she writes and the way she tells stories. So I was so excited.
Her books bring so much emotion to me because there'll be a part in it where you're feeling like the angst or the depression or this like deep sadness. And then there's other parts that give you so much like hope. And then like, I don't know, by the end of the book, I just feel like it would be so well-rounded. And I just feel like put back together. Like it takes me apart. And then it like pieces me back together. Like I'm even thinking of like Ryan said, like that book.
Oh my gosh.
Start to finish in that last line in that book.
That's one I have not read. I own it, but I have not read it, so please don't spoil that one for me.
All of them. Even like we were talking the other day, Megan and I were like, Rich Prick is one of our both favorites. And that book too, it's just like, whoa, like, and even like Canary. Like there's so many parts that you just don't know and you're reading this book and then you get to the close to the end and you find out more and you're just like, it was just good because there's just that angst and the love story and all the
like
moving
it's definitely parts. All of her books send me on an emotional roller coaster every single time. I really do enjoy, like I have not read anything of hers that I didn't just love. She's such like she's pretty diverse too in like what she writes, and it's just so great. I love everything that she writes.
I know I can name so many. I was thinking right now when you were talking, I'm like, oh yeah, like Anti-Stepbrother and Hate to Love You, I think was like one of the first ones I read from her too. And I was just like, she's went from like high school and wrote like football. Enemies. Anyway, sorry.
Lord's Romance, the high school, and then there's the Fallen Crest series, which is a very impressive series that like 9 books spread out over how many years that like can keep your interest. That's like that's huge, especially again for being MF, like centering on characters. It's not like it was centering on like a bunch.
I want them to keep going with Fallen Crest until they're like 80 at this point. Like I would read it.
Well, I think we would do another Logan book. I think we could use another Logan book.
Yes. I'm wondering if she'll do something. I haven't finished the Fallen Crest series.
I love it.
And I don't know, but I know like Nate's just came out that kind of goes with it and stuff.
So it's kind of crossover within the world.
Right, with like that and the crew and stuff. But I'm like, I know some writers have gone off and done like a new series. It's like the kids.
Yeah.
I think
that
there
would
would
be
be
really
setting up
cool.
for that. I think there could be a setup for that with.
I would love that.
Yeah, I would love it too. Especially
I forgot that she did Teardrop Shot, and that is by far my favorite book ever. Like,
really?
yeah, she like, I don't know, like those like one-liner questions.
Oh yeah.
I will literally cry laugh whenever she's just so awkward, and I relate to that so much. Like,
me too.
Oh, I loved that. I forgot all about that part.
That book. That was another like.
I know, like
it was good. I need to reread that one. It's been a while.
The thing about it is they're emotional and angsty, but they're easy to read. Sometimes with those books, I struggle. Like if it's too emotional, if it's too angsty, or if it's like too dark or too this, I will struggle to get into it. But I feel like hers are like easy to digest. They're like
they're
easy
just the right amount of everything.
Yeah, it doesn't stress me out. Like I'm not stressed out reading it. I'm just like into it. It's just done in a way that's very easy to read.
Yes.
I agree. Going back to Canary.
I know.
Canary.
I could talk about her books like forever.
So, Canary.
I did not see this. Canary was not what I expected at all. And I loved it.
I think it's so different than what she like usually writes. I was not expecting this. Like it's filled with everything that you usually see in her books, but it was just more for me. Honestly, like it was so good.
I loved it. I wasn't sure at first who, like, if he was going to be the love interest or not, because the way she's describing him so cold and callous as her boss, I was kind of being like, oh, this might be my damage coming through in my dark romance love, but I'm like, I hope she gets with this guy. But I'm like, no, it's not going to be him. It's not going to be him. Because I like purposely tried not to read the blurb and stuff to keep things as like, because I just knew I'm going to like her book. I don't want to know. And then I'm like, wait, he is going to be the love interest. Well, this is yay. It's so different. He was so different than what she usually writes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So for anyone, summary of the book. I'm trying to think of the summary of the book because I didn't read the blurb either. Basically, we have a girl. It starts off with her, working for mafia.
Kind of in the criminal underground. It's
criminal underground. There we go.
Organized crime.
Like kind of a grunt, kind of. Like in the criminal underworld.
We slowly learn what her job is, why they're keeping her around. Her story slowly gets pieced together throughout the book. Love interests, friendships are kind of introduced.
And even her name. There's a whole thing with her name.
Her name, because it starts out at the beginning of the book just girl.
Yeah.
Girl. And then it changes throughout the book what they're calling her, and then we find out why. And can I just say that absolutely killed me.
Yes,
absolutely. All of a sudden, because of that journey, we're chapter 1 girl, and then what does it Carrie, and then Ash, and you're reading that and you're just like, wow. And then you find out her story where her mom took her name away, and then so she's like, I don't have a name, and that just absolutely killed me. Like, I was just like, you poor thing. Like, when she finally told her story, and then Ray's is there, and he hears it, and it just all of a sudden pieces the whole thing together. And it was just her name. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Well, and then, like, I was wondering, like, throughout the book, her motivation. She's like in it for her sister. She's trying to save her sister. Like, that's why she got into this life. She even thinks about how she could have had a normal life, but she got into this life for her sister. And when they do rescue her sister, I'm like, she's not going to go see her. I'm like, this is it. I was so confused.
Yeah.
And then boom, they explain, like, her whole motivation made so much more sense. She felt guilty.
Yes.
It was guilt. She felt like she owed her
for it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, what a twist. What a twist.
I
like
was
the fact
not
that was
prepared.
intentional.
I was not prepared.
Right?
No.
That was
No.
crazy.
It, you know, and there was a scene she was talking about, like in the changing room with her sister, where she's like, and she called me friend, because that's like our, what we call each other, our code word. And so at first I was like, oh, that must be something they do, like when they're like doing something they're not supposed to, you know, like they don't want the guys to know they're sisters or something. And then like when you find out that, like, you know, mom introduced her as like, you want a new friend, you know, and then it goes through, it was, yeah. And I love that that was a thing about Ash, is that she cared, you know. There was that scene where she's like running from that other group, and then there's the little boy, and she's like, I'm not gonna let him get hurt, and she's not gonna let, you know, they came back, she came back to try to like save them. The dog Gus,
Oh my
you know,
god.
how many times did she go to save Gus? I love Gus.
Praise the Gus. Praise the Gus.
Great character.
Praise the Gus, right?
It's great when they can write a great animal into the story, and they're like a part of the.
And I loved how Gus loved her so much.
Yeah.
And
like
how
unconditionally.
Yes. And then all the guys too, you know, even Jake started taking care of Gus. And then let's talk about Jake, like, and his whole story, and how, like, I love how we find out eventually, because at first, you know, like, she has this gut feeling, right? And like, so I have to ask her a yes or no question, basically, and she can say yes or no. And she hates it, right? She hates that gut feeling. She hates that she's being used that way. She hates that she's the canary because of that, you know. And then like there's Jake, and then she finds out, you know, that they're listening in on his calls, and then she hears what he's doing. And that kind of made me love Ray's a little bit more, just because, like, he, you know, I wasn't even really sure what he was doing, what he knew, didn't know. You know, it's not like clear right away, like, yeah, he's boss man.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really clear until you get a little bit more.
So much mystery.
Yes.
You never really knew what, like, you know, his role was and everything. Like, I was always like guessing, you know, because it wasn't ever clear, and then it is, and you're just like,
there was hints though. There were so many hints. Like, when he took her to the store to get clothes and stuff, and he was so gruff and so like, you know, whatever. But like, I had a feeling, and it's probably just because we read these kinds of books that we know, like, that guy that like acts like he doesn't cares. And I don't think he cared that much at the beginning.
Yeah.
But I think he had a plan from the start, from like winning her. I think he saw something in her, and he wanted to keep her for some reason, and he worked his way there.
He's very smart. He was very calculating, like, you know, he always knew, like, I feel what was going to happen before it happened. You know, he always had a contingencies plan, you know.
He did. But he did, like, I like how she surprised him though, like when she was like looking for her sister at that like whorehouse number and stuff, and he's like, he didn't know all of her background, so I kind of like that he didn't know everything yet, like that. I liked.
Well, and what I liked about the whole character, like in the beginning, I just felt like we were on this journey, like we're like her, we don't know why they're going there, like what, you know, what's going on, what they're doing. We're getting like the little bits of the past as she gets it. And then all of a sudden we get his POV. I love when that happens. Like, you know, for a while it's just her, and then boom, his POV. And I'm like, that's just that's always a game changer. And I feel like it made me fall for the character a lot more. Like, I feel like if we didn't get his POV, it would definitely seem like the gruffness would be definitely extra. But there's just something about not knowing what's happening at first, but there being all this action. Like, it was a very great balance of like action, small moments, like the whole airport thing, and the women kind of examining him, and her like being like, is he attractive? Wait, he is attractive. Like, we see her like slowly like kind of like falling for him, and kind of being in denial that she's in love with this like killer. He's a killer. He's like shooting people in front of her, and she's like, how do I justify this? And I'm like, yes, girl, justify it. Yes, give in. Give in. Like, that's the thing. she's got you rooting for this dude who's like shooting people for like based on what she says. Like, is he trustworthy? No. Boom. Like, first scene. So
yes.
And I love that though. I love that he trusted her gut feeling. You know, him just looking at her and being like, she knows. And I love seeing that development from him trusting her for just that thing and like moving beyond, you know, just that progression from like the scene. Is it in the car?
Ooh, that
What
car
happened?
scene?
Something
You
happened
mean
and I
the
can't.
sexy car scene?
Yeah, the sexy car scene. That was the first time, right?
Yeah, like she needed like to like
Release.
offload release.
Yes.
That was hot. I like that.
That was so good.
That was
So
very good. I love that.
Stepped up her steaminess. I feel like that was like one of the more steamier things for the author.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Well, and I always love a good car scene like that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So
yeah.
An unplanned, just like throw your clothes off kind of thing.
But I love that he did that for her, you know.
Yeah.
And then just to see the relationship from there progress.
Because it wasn't like a declaration of love. It's like, oh, you need it. Like
No.
you need something.
Yeah.
Like
She needed to get off and he was there for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Use me.
It developed, so you get it. But it's still, it's not, it was a great progression for sure.
It was. And I like how you like went to like teach her how to shoot the gun.
Yeah.
And
secretly.
you know, beyond, but he was like, don't tell anybody, which was interesting, you know, just those little hints throughout where, you know, like Jake wasn't even supposed to know.
And you're like, who do you trust? You're like, you do start getting suspicious of Jake because you think you're supposed to be suspicious of this one guy. And then you're like, I forget what's his name? Mike?
Oh my goodness. Is it Cavers?
Yes.
Oh, how did I think it was Mike?
Cavers.
I highlighted so much stuff and then
it
gets lost.
It does. You know, just Cavers and Mike. I mean, obviously it's an easy way it's easily mistakable.
Yeah.
Maybe that's his first name.
I don't know.
I feel like that's a last name. His first name could be Mike. We're gonna say his first name's Mike. His last name's Cavers. We all call him Cavers.
I'm sorry, everybody, especially to the author.
It happens. But you know, it's so funny because at first what I liked about this book was like whatever girl / Ash was thinking, I kind of was like on the same page, like kind of trying to think of where we're gonna go with it. But like when she was starting to be interested in Rays, you know, I was like at the airport, you know, I'm like, oh, okay, like I can see maybe, but I'm not sure if I really like this guy yet because I'm not sure I like how he's acting. And then, you know, we're moving on. And the same thing with Cavers. She was so suspicious of Cavers for so long. And then there was like that scene. There was a couple of scenes with him.
Yeah.
But then I was warming up to him. And then when he went to like kind of confess to Rays, I believe is kind of what happened and stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was like, I really like this guy. Like
he won me over for sure.
Yes.
Like I was so like against him, like because of all the suspicion, and then he came through and I was just like, okay, you're a good side character for sure, you can stay.
Right. I think I liked him more than Jake.
Yeah, I do. Like honestly, yes.
Jake was a roller coaster for me. I liked him because he was like guy 1 or guy 2, right? I loved how she was like guy 1, 2, and then the one gets shot and he's like 2, and then like slowly. And I loved though that she was still like, I'm not going to talk to you. She was like still standoffish from him, which I think is great because who knew he was like a spy?
The whole time I thought he was in her corner.
Yeah. And then, but then to see him like turn, he didn't want to. Like
he was a little suspicious. I did start getting suspicious of him because I was like, just like, hey, he did. I'm like, he's asking too much. I did get suspicious.
He was a little too interested, but I wasn't like, I was like, okay, maybe he just really wants to get to know her, or, but I didn't really get suspicious until I don't know when. I just knew he was just a turncoat.
But plot twist, he was a turncoat, but then he wanted to like double cross them.
Yeah,
and
it's just like he needed to make up his mind a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He gave me whiplash.
Yes.
Yes.
But I like how they were, I feel like they were spared for her. I feel like they wouldn't have been spared if it wasn't for like him being in love with her.
Yeah. Well, and I think that irritated Ray's a lot. I think that really irritated him where he was like, it would just be easier to shoot these people.
Yes.
Be done with it. And then, but she's asking him no. And I just like, there's a scene in The Office where she's like, no. And like, they're fighting about her saying, no, you're not going to do this. And I love that though, because that like really kind of showed that they're in a relationship and like now they're going to like talk it out. And then they're going to, I really wanted to cuss. I guess I could cuss, but like, and then they wanted to screw it out to, figure it out, So I liked that scene a lot. It was intense, but I was just like, I loved that like relationship. No. And then like him stalking towards her. I just, so good.
It's so good. And I think that it also shows like her humanity, like after everything that she's been through and she's just kind of like socially, like she doesn't have the same feelings as everybody else does. Like she questions herself a lot, but I think that it really shows how no matter what she's been through, because she's been through terrible, unspeakable things, but her standing up for those two, or Jake especially, shows like she still has her humanity. She still feels things, and I really like that.
I like that. I liked her character development a lot.
I agree. Well said. Definitely.
Yes.
And I that's another thing that we didn't mention was her backstory, where she was it the original, like, because she was kind of being sold off. She's in this world for her sister, where women aren't treated well, and they're not usually looked at as like, they don't really have a position of power, and she was unfortunately assaulted by somebody. And I like how retribution was had. I like that storyline, because I think that's really how it is in the criminal. I would think in the criminal world, women aren't treated well.
Yeah.
She's trying to rescue her sister from like a slavery type of thing. So she's like into this like horrible, corrupt world, and she's trying not to have that happen to her. She's definitely a very strong character.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
And the way that they explain the gut thing, because the gut thing, you do have to suspend disbelief a little bit at first, but then at the end, the way they explain it, it just makes a lot of sense. Like, I just thought that was really well done.
I loved that part.
I did too.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed that. That's something I saw coming.
Yeah, it was something very different. It was just the whole. It was so different. I just felt like everything was explained. Everything that I kind of questioned, or I'm like, I have to suspend disbelief for, at the end was just that was validated perfectly. I just feel like there was a plan. It all came together.
Yes,
I was very impressed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, and I there was a hint at one point about her gut feeling. I think she said something about rappers. She said something about how like she could predict, something
like footsteps
or something like that. So there was like a hint at one point, but then when we get the story about her mom and how like her mom just liked to lie about stuff, about what toothpaste she used and this and that, and she got really good at reading people to the point where she just had to have a feeling, like to be able to be next to somebody and just know right away yes or no they did something, because she can just read that little tell, is like, wow. But then think of her poor childhood.
I know, that's what kills me.
That was so sad. I'm like, you're literally this is why you're so good at it, is because you had to, that was what you did as a child, was listen to your mom to see what day is it going to be, what's she going to lie about, what do I need to be careful of, to get that intuition.
She had no one in her corner, so she had to trust herself. Like, that's just like how strong she was. Like, she had so much on her plate at such a young age,
and like, I don't know, she went through so much that it hurt me.
Yeah.
God.
Yes. And that's the thing about Tijan, is she does that. And like I said, she'll pull you apart and then put you back together, and you're like, okay.
And that's the thing. You know, you don't get that, right? You get bits of it throughout. So it's not all bombarded at you at once. Mm-hmm. And it also makes it super entertaining.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and there are certain things that I like highlighted too that I just found kind of amusing. Like there's one scene where she's like, those people probably champagne for a hobby. And I was just like, I love that. Yeah. Like, I'm going to start saying that. Like, you call it champagne for a hobby. Like, because I'm like, and when you say that, I just got a full description of who those people were. Just by that one sentence, I'm like, I know exactly who you're talking about. You know?
Yes, great point. I liked that line a lot too.
Yeah, I liked it enough to highlight it. Like, you know, but then there was another one where like he is saying like, I have to commit mass murder tomorrow. Like, you do not have to like comfort me. In that whole scene, like I love
that scene.
I'm like every scene. I'm like all of them. And if Gus is in there, then that's like a bonus.
Oh my gosh, don't get me started on Gus.
Right. And when she went back for him and the fact that like he knew and like put her, like I think like put him in the closet because like he knew like she's not gonna leave without the dog.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I you know, I'm kind of in awe with just how fast I read the series and how much it really, I mean, not the series, the book, and how it really sucked me in. It was like, it just was one of those ones that kind of grip you from the get-go and doesn't really let go.
Right.
Which is always, when you read so much, it's rare. I don't know. It's when you get a book like that, it's just like, that's why we have these book overs.
Well, yeah. And it's hard, like, because I've been, you know, reading a lot. Our standards of the books change and stuff, but like I'm starting to get disappointed on twists and stuff because I've been able lately. I've noticed I've been predicting what that twist is, and this one I did not. You know, the whole her name thing. I had no clue what was going to happen there. Like this book was surprising. Now I know that Tijan, I have to say, she said this was like her most violent book. And to me, I don't know what's wrong with me because I didn't feel, I get it that it was violent because there was a lot of killing and stuff, but for anyone who's worried about the violence, and if you listen to it because you don't care about spoilers, I felt like the gore wasn't there. You know, there wasn't descriptions of like flesh hanging off bone or blood everywhere. You know, there was now and then stuff about like, you know, gunshot wound, blood, cleanup, whatever, but it wasn't like gory to me. And to me, violence would show that, or like, you know, there weren't like, it was gunshot violence to me. There wasn't like, you know, fist fights, viciousness like that. So like to me, it's easier to be removed when it's a gun than something else. So like to me, like, it was violent, but it wasn't like, for me, a trigger issue.
And it wasn't like violent. Like there were parts where, you know, she had what do you just call her Ash because she has so many names, so Ash, like there wasn't really a lot of violence towards her either. There were like, you know, some instances, but it wasn't like crazy like amount of violence.
And things were like flashbacks too of things that had
which makes it easier.
So it wasn't well, I think, you know, when you read, if you are a dark romance reader, you just have a different expectation. Maybe if you're more of a sweet romance reader, if you read more of, I'm gonna say Tijan. We've been debating how to say Tijan's name. I always thought it was Tijan. So Tijan. So if you've read her books before, yes, it's definitely like, you know, there's more callous murder going on. But I think if you're a dark romance reader, it's like, that's normal day in dark romance for
and on the scale of things, it's really like from here to like Skeleton King, it's like really, really vanilla. So
for me, I love that, from here to Skeleton King. That's a great reference,
right?
That was hilarious. Sorry.
But would you classify this really as enemies to lovers? I thought it was more indifference to lovers.
Is it categorized as enemies to lovers? I think it's just in general because we're nothing to start,
Yeah.
right? He's her boss.
I think it's like indifference. They didn't really have anything.
But I can see her thinking of him as an enemy because she already had an issue with her last boss who raped her.
I guess that, yeah.
So I can see her being, he's not my friend, so he's a foe. I can see her thinking of it. I mean, I feel like it's a loose enemies to lovers. It's definitely, you know, not friends to lovers. So, but yeah,
maybe it's a workplace romance.
Workplace romance, a mafia workplace romance.
Mafia workplace romance.
Yes,
like I can see that too. Like the you know, he wasn't a friend. That's a really good one. He wasn't a friend, so he's a foe. Like that makes more sense to me because her thinking is very cut and dry. Like there's no in between. It's like I'm against this person or I'm for this person. It's not like there's not a lot of in between with her.
There was, I'm using you to survive, people. Like that's like her with like Jake and Cavers. Like I'm cautious of you, but you're how I'm surviving right now.
Yeah. And I feel like she did like him as a boss. Like I feel like she like trusted him and knew how to navigate him enough to where like I don't know if she necessarily thought of him as an enemy, but like I know she was like she didn't want him to die at first because she's like there's no one better to work for in this underworld than this dude. Like she didn't want to start over with some other terrible boss.
She's gotten so far.
Yeah, she's like, I already know how to navigate this guy. So, I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't say it was enemies to lover. I can see why, yes, but I wouldn't call it that. Like describing it to somebody, I would just say like a mafia dark.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I would mafia romance.
Yeah, or criminal underground.
Yeah, because sometimes it's hard for me to even say romance because it's not like roses and chocolates and
like a lot of these like
but if you say but my definition of romance, I guess, right?
I like honestly I'm like they're dark sex books that I enjoy and I love.
Well,
I don't say anything.
Yeah, that's true. Although I don't think of these, I don't think she relies as much on sex as some of the other of these genres. I definitely wouldn't, I feel like this had a lot of plot, a lot of like suspense, a lot of plot with the romance like in it.
Well, and I like that she doesn't rely on the sex.
Yes, I need more than just sex and more than just the romance.
Yeah, I like that we get a couple of good scenes in there. You're like, that was a good scene. This was a good scene. But then there's like fade to blacks. And it's like, because we know, I don't need every single time he goes down on her. I don't need that.
I mean, I like that.
I don't mind it, but I'm saying I don't need it. Like, it's like, if you want to cut that out and give me something more to the story, I'll take it. Because I don't need every chapter to have sex in it.
That's why I like that. Like, honestly, like,
that's why I enjoy her books, because there is a lot of plot and there are a lot of like undertones of things. It like you don't need, like it doesn't need, it's so they're all so action packed that you don't need 50 sex scenes. Like you don't need it. Like they're just good on their own. Like
I would probably read them. I mean, if there weren't any sex scenes, but they're definitely a plus.
Definitely a plus.
I'm glad there are.
Yes. Yes.
But I will say I think it's what is it? Quality over quantity when it comes to scenes. Because there are a lot of books out there that just rely too heavily on it and it's just like sex. And I'm like, and they're not even like they're all right.
Repetitive. Some of it. Yeah.
Quality scene.
I want a quality sex scene. Yes.
Yeah. Something that I'm gonna maybe revisit later.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I mean, why not?
we're all smut lovers here.
Yes, we are. We are. All right. Last call. Anything? Okay. I'm trying to think of the only thing I know of Tijan, I feel like she's pretty good at being like tight-lipped on things that are going on with her. I do know that Damaged is coming out in February 2022.
And can I just mention how interesting it is that she is an indie author that, you know, is also independently still publishing, but also got a publishing deal. So she's doing both. I find that very interesting.
I am very happy for her.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of her for getting there. Yeah. I like it. I just,
and then she's doing both still, that she's still sticking with both.
Yes. And I love that because I love the indie authors and their world and everything. Yeah.
I emailed my library in my hometown, and they finally got some of her books in. So that's
no way. That's
amazing.
Just from email, I gotta do that. You just emailed.
I didn't even know that was a thing until I saw a TikTok on it. Oh. And you can find, like, you can do, like, I guess any author. Like, they don't have to be from like a major publishing house. Like, it can be anyone. So if there's enough interest in it, they'll do it. So I guess I'm not the only one who love her books.
You know, it probably helps that she has some like published out there, that she's a little more well known, but that's really interesting. I'm like trying to think of all the other authors. I'm like, who do I want in the library?
Yeah. I just go for their book sales. And like, I don't trust my son to not mess up a library book. I just don't trust it. So I just go there. But now if they're getting more authors that, like, you know, I enjoy reading, I'll check out some books.
Right.
That's very cool. Well, I know like Barnes and Nobles and stuff are doing like book top tables and like,
I think that's so cool.
Yeah, they're getting into it. So that's very interesting. They knocked down my library, and I was just pumping gas one day, and I noticed my library was knocked down. I was like, what happened? And I called, and I was very upset. And they're like, oh, we're building a new, like, innovative one. And evidently it was going to my spam. So they're going to do this big, really cool, innovative library, like 5 minutes from where I live. So I'm hoping once that opens up, you know, there'll be variety.
Right.
So. Yeah.
Sorry,
last call. Sorry.
Awesome last call. Before we finish, Hair the Book. So Hair the Book is the book that helps us out of the bookovers that we have, you know, just like Hair of the Dog. It's a Hair of the Book. And so for this one, I was picking one that I actually just read. It's a very sweet romance. It's actually a sport romance because I needed away from mafia and stuff, and it just came out. But it's Change on the Fly. It's a hockey romance. Maureen Moore. Maureen Moore is what do I call that? It's a pen name to another author that is doing sweet instead of dark. But I really enjoyed this one. There's still steam in the book. It's a little shorter, so it's a good weekend read, but I enjoyed it, and it kind of got me back to like reality.
Yeah.
And you know, hot hockey players.
Yes. Always good. Always good.
Anybody?
I can go. Okay, so my Hair of the Book. I'm gonna take it darker and to reverse harem because, you know, it's me.
Why not?
Yeah. So CM Student has had I Am Bored and Ruined out for like 2 years, and she just completed the series with I Will Revel in Glory, just came out on Thursday, and that's a great series. You know, you've got a mafia and a motorcycle club at war. I don't know. I feel like if you like this, I feel like fans of this book, if you want to try a reverse harem, this is the one for you. There's some age gap. There's, you know, criminal stuff going on. There's a character kind of finding herself and having family drama, and also having drama with lost sisters. So there's some similarities. So I'm gonna throw that out there. It's a Death by Daybreak motorcycle club, but again, it's like the mafia and motorcycle club, like that war.
That's awesome.
Reading that now.
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
It's so good. Which book are you on? Are you on the last one?
I'm actually on I Will Revel in Glory.
Okay, so the last one, yeah.
Yes. And I think I'm
one.
like 20% in. It's just, I just really like, isn't it CM Student? How do you say her last name? Stunich?
So I think it's
We say Stunic. I don't know.
Stunic. Okay, we'll go with that. But I just love all of her books. She's so good.
She's so good. Her writing. And did you hear there's going to be a Gray Wolf spinoff?
No.
Yes, she announced it. There's going to be a 3-book series for him.
Oh no.
I saw that and I had no clue what she's talking about, but I was excited and I saw the picture for it and I was like, okay, I need to read this next.
Yeah. I think the picture is was a little bit spoilery, the picture. So don't look at the picture yet.
Okay. Okay.
Well, it's probably too late. But
yeah, I saw it. Yeah. I was intrigued. It's okay. Spoilers don't bother me too much.
Yeah, I'm fine with it.
He's a great character and I'm really excited that he's going to get his own series.
That is exciting.
Yeah.
I'm going to go stalk it as soon as I'm done with this now. Thank you.
Yeah. You have a hair of the book for us?
Yes. I reread Cricket Kindle series.
Oh, yeah.
It's an incomplete reverse harem. It's super sweet. They don't nothing happens until the 3rd book. But, after you go into a dark place, I need a little bit of sunshine and happiness. So, Willow Hadley is always really good, I think, for, the sweet, romance.
She's so sweet herself. She seems like the very sweet author.
Yes.
Wait, and people really smile in that book a lot.
Yeah.
They're always smiling. Have you noticed that about that series? They're always grinning and smiling. Like it's just, they're just so happy.
I know. They're I don't know. The best way I can describe the men in Cricket Kindle, they're like Labrador retrievers. Like they're just so sweet and you just want to cuddle them. They're always smiling. I think it's great.
It just when you read those words, it makes you smile too. So.
Yeah, it brightens my day. Like if I'm having a bad day, I will read that one, or like the U of J series by Ali Sees.
What's that one?
It's a football college romance. It's a 3-part series. It's so good.
Okay,
you need to write that down. Read that.
I like a good football romance. I don't know why. I do.
I do too. I think it's because I'm in love with Aaron Rodgers a little bit, so I think that's what does it for me.
Christian McCaffrey for me. He's my man. If he would just stop getting hurt.
True.
All right. Sorry, everybody. We'll stay away from sports and thank you, everyone, for listening in. We hope you enjoyed reading Canary as much as we did and enjoyed the episode. And thank you, Holly, for joining us.
Thank you, Holly. So much fun having you.
Yes, it was nice having a 3rd person here. Yay.
Yeah.
It's nice having someone to talk to about books with,
Right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Exactly why we're here. To talk
and we hope that everyone comes into the group and they come talk books in the comments with us. Like all we want to do is talk about books all the time.
Yes. I want to know what you're reading. I want to know what you're reading, what characters you're loving. I just join the group and
I want to know
the book club. Yeah.
I like getting more books to add to my TBR. So
I love to recommend too, especially if you like reverse harem. I've got like a million recs for you in every category. Name a category and I will give you a recommendation.
Yes, she is your person to go to. I'm not so good. I forget names of books. I just look them up though if you have a question. But she's like, you're my Google search for books. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. And we will see you next time on the Book Over. Bye.
Bye.